Hello, and welcome back to another episode or segment. I don't know what you call these things of an Ask Me Anything Amazon ad segment, I guess you could call it. Got a LinkedIn user already watching that said, "Hey, let's go. This intro music is motivational." Definitely can thank my editor for that one. I was wondering if we needed to rework the intro one. I find it motivational as well. Kind of jams me out, gets me going and ready. Have someone else saying hi, Elizabeth. Hello, welcome. So really quick, I see we already have questions coming in the chat, which is freaking awesome. Love it. For those of you just joining in, maybe this is your first time tuning in, I want to say a big hello. Also, for those of you who might be catching this on the replay, I go through this about every week, but just wanting to let people know we are going live every Thursday with these, a place for you to turn in and ask your Amazon ad questions. People saying hi, hello, welcome to the live. I appreciate you joining in. So feel free to head up our website, which is junglr.com, also on the wall behind me. But if you go to resources in this Q&A section, this is actually going to link you to today's live. So if you wanted to catch the most recent one, we put that up there as soon as we generate it. Other things that are helpful, you can check the calendar for next lives. So if you want to know which ones are coming up, and also once these are generated, you will get the links to them. You can also follow the calendar, which is awesome. But the one thing I do want to point out, which we actually got a question in through this form, which I'm excited about, although honestly, it was a bit hard for me to understand the question. So if you are submitting this question, make sure that you make it a little bit legible and add all of the context, which is fabulous. So basically what we did is we realized that not everyone can join live. And so for those of you catching the replay, or if you're just going throughout the week, you're like, oh, I have a question, want to make sure I get an answer. Feel free to head over to the website, hit up the Q&A, and then send us a link or send us your question through this form. And we'll make sure to get your question answered on the live. Awesome. So actually the question that came in, I'll try and answer it on the live, and then we got ones that are popping in the chat. So this is awesome. Oh, Christy said the link to submit a question didn't work for me. Great to know what the campaign structure you would consider best practice. Yes, I think I got your question on, I don't know if you subscribed to our newsletter or not. Christy, feel free to reach out to me. It looks like you're on LinkedIn. I would love to understand why the form didn't work or why there was an error, because that's definitely an issue if the form's not working. Yeah, but the question that actually came in, I have one that came in through that form. The question was why they might not be getting a sale. Now, context in this, it says it's specifically for an iPhone keyword sale. So they were saying they are not getting sales through an iPhone keywords, but their product is definitely an iPhone case. So because I happen to know that iPhone cases are really, really competitive, that is most likely the reason why you're not getting sales through that particular keyword. I would check what I call the shopper funnel, essentially. So it's how many impressions are you getting on the keyword? How many people are even seeing it? Then you want to see clicks, meaning are people actually even clicking? So if you're not getting sales, I'm assuming there's some clicks, but how many clicks? And then what is the click-through rate? Now, I'm not a huge fan of optimizing specifically for click-through rate. I've said this on other lives. The reason being is you can have really good sales and great ACoS and a poor conversion or click-through rate. And so I don't like ignoring all the other more important positive metrics, but click-through rate is a really good way to check how many shoppers who are viewing that ad are actually interested in learning more, meaning clicking into your product pages. And so I would see that if you have a poor click-through rate, I would define if it's top of search, prominent placement, you would ideally want above a 1% or at a 1% click-through rate would be good. 0.5 is pretty good, actually. I would consider that. Once you start to hit 0.3, 0.2% click-through rate, you're getting into the low territory. Anything between 0.2 or 0.15 is really poor click-through rates. So that's kind of a good indicator, again, how many people are interested in your particular product when they run across it on a search page. But I really appreciate you submitting your question. And with that answer form, we actually have a way for you to put an email. I'm not making it a requirement to submit questions that way, but that way I can email you back the responses. So I'm going to email this segment definitely to Mohammed, it seems, is the asker's name. So cool. Got questions rolling in. I'm super, super excited. Lots of people saying hi. Awesome. Oh, all right. Sangeet has a question. We have a product which was listed by a third-party user using random barcodes years back. Oh, goodness. We have took over the brand 2 years back. The barcode is on our back end is the accurate barcode. We also have brand registry. However, our barcode is not GS1. It doesn't get GS1 barcode. Now Amazon is showing below error. Yes, so that can definitely be an issue. Amazon has switched to requiring a GS1 barcodes. That is definitely something that if you don't have GS1, if you have really old barcodes that potentially had been like registered to another brand or they got moved, like those things will create long-term issues for you. If there's something that you keep meaning to get to and like just haven't, I highly recommend going into that. Now that is going to require you to like deal with seller support, fix the GS1. Like that's a much more extensive thing and one that we don't personally deal with in our agency, although we do have clients that have had to go through that before. So I would recommend looking on YouTube specifically. I'm sure there's plenty of content out there on that. My personal, I wouldn't have enough personal experiences in it to give you like really specific advice, which is probably what you're looking for. Cool. Yeah, this is Christy's question. The link to submit questions doesn't work for me. Yeah. But she clarified, yes, she subscribed to the email, which is where, so we do have an email newsletter that goes out every Tuesday. I actually am putting out content in there that is not available in any other platform. And I have yet to actually publish that, which hopefully those are really good content pieces. I get some good feedback on that. And so when you sign up for a newsletter in one of our forums, we say like, hey, is there any content you want us to write about? And so Christy did submit it there, but we definitely will make sure to get it answered on this call. So your question was, what is a good campaign structure? What would you consider the best practice for Amazon? Great question, Christy. So I would recommend doing single keyword, single campaign, single ad group structures. That is really helpful for scalability, for a lot of control when it comes to the budgets and the bidding strategies, et cetera. Now, as far as what products are you going to put into those campaigns, because that would be like the second leg of the structure, I would say think of it on a per listing level. The reason why we view it like per listing, per parent ASIN, which allows you to group things if there's variations, child variations, different SKUs, etc. The reason why we would view it this way is because the listing is where the traffic gets directed. Think of it in terms of traffic flows, right? So because all of those variations are going to be directing traffic to the same place, then we're okay with grouping things in that way, meaning like more than one child variation in a campaign. Now, when it comes to deciding which products, so for context, we would manage a lot of clothing brands, and so that really has made us think through really complicated structures and figure out how to build advertising strategies around that. And then, so what we'll do is we will think of, okay, which variations, it's not in terms of the traffic flow, but in terms of the quality or the conversion of that traffic flow, because you will find that certain products get better click-through rates, get better conversion rates. And so we'll think through it on that. I do have a specific video out. I'll plug it now. If you're dealing with like variation campaigns and trying to figure out that's a little bit more of kind of an extensive explanation. But I do have this video. It's called How to Increase Sales, the Best Variation and Ad Strategy. the thumbnail looks like this. So I'd recommend checking that out if you're looking specifically for that. And then if you are looking how many keywords to put into the campaign, that one's a little bit more nuanced as well. Also have a video on it. The short answer to that one is that I'm not a huge fan of hard and fast rules. I actually am going to be doing a debate on, I don't believe that there is no more than X amount of keywords in a specific campaign. I think that's an arbitrary number that makes no sense to strategy. But let's see, I also have a video on that if you want a more extensive explanation of this. It's called How Many Keywords Per Campaign, single keyword campaigns, ? But that specific video goes into much more of the specifics on how many keywords would be in it. Think of it in context of how much control do I need over this thing? Meaning if I need high levels of control because it's ranking, single keyword campaign. If I don't need high levels of control, it's like a low bid strategy, many more keywords in the campaign. That's kind of our loose rules. And then as far as match types, my by far preference is a single match type per campaign. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions on like bidding strategy to set, do you use placements? You know, there's things that go into campaign. Best practices for campaign, which funny enough, I don't know when it's going to be out. Me and Michael from Ad Badger actually just filmed a video walking through our beginner tactics for launching sponsored product campaign through like the ad console. We actually talk through like, would you set placements? What do you do with negatives? How do you guys like structure this? Which campaign should you launch first? Like all of that is in there. Great. Hello. Abdul has a great question. Is sponsored display campaigns effective? Yes. Abso-freaking-lutely. Sponsored display campaigns are effective. Now, if you are looking to get into sponsored display campaigns, trying to figure out where to start, you don't know where to start. Two of my favorite places to start is one, product targeting. A great way to do this is look at your sponsored product campaigns to determine which of those ASIN targets are working best for you in sponsored products, and then simply retarget them in a sponsored display ad, because those sponsored display ads actually show up higher on their product pages much more prominently. Fun fact here, you can also put a lifestyle image. You can do a video. Wouldn't it be fabulous to showcase your product in a video right underneath your competitors' bullet points in their buy box? You can do that with a sponsored display ad. So there's a lot of things that you could go into that. So I would highly recommend starting there. And then the other one that actually tends to work really well for us, it's a hit or miss to be honest, but it's worth testing, is the look back windows. So there's two look back windows. Is you can look at, or you can retarget shoppers who have landed on your product page and have not purchased. And then you can also retarget shoppers who have purchased, and those within X amount of days. And X is something that you can actually set in the campaign when you launch it. Some of our brands absolutely crushed it with the retargeting ads and sponsored display, and some of our brands it's kind of a hit or miss. So what I would recommend is definitely test it, because it can work really, really well, especially if you have like subscribe and save options, or if it's a you have like repeat purchases on your product. Absolutely run retargeting ads. Again, I would just look at performance, and if I'm not getting the performance I want, I wouldn't be worried about turning off retargeting ads as if I'm missing something out, because just know that it works well for some products and it doesn't work for others. Awesome. Rolling right along. Looks like we got the chat hopping today. I'm excited. This is awesome. Got someone saying, hey, Elizabeth, how are you doing? I am doing fabulous, and I appreciate it. Oh goodness. Mike has a question with a conundrum. He says, running ads on a single product, over 100 clicks, goodness, no conversions, but some are coming in organically. Should I keep running ads? How do I find out what sales are coming in for organic? Go Bills. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. So I would definitely see if you could parse out where those conversions are coming from. I will say there have been some occasions where products get funky where like they only really perform well in like maybe product targeting ads or other types of ads. So I would kind of look at it. Ways to find out where you're converting on those would be look into the reverse ASIN searching of your product, figure out where you're ranking. And then the second thing I would look into is search query performance report if you're brand registered. Search query performance all the freaking way. And then if you are running ads and you say over 100 clicks, my question would be, is it over 100 clicks on like all of the ads? Is it over 100 clicks on just like a handful? Because if you had 100 clicks on a single keyword, I would say, yeah, pretty much definitively, like at 100 clicks, no conversion. You're looking at less than a 1% conversion rate. So like, yeah, that keyword doesn't work. But if like one keyword has like 5 clicks, well, that's expecting a 25% conversion rate. So therefore, maybe there's not enough information to really make a definitive decision. This keyword does not work for my product. See what I'm saying? So I would take a look at what you're targeting and how much data you have on each individual keyword, and then start making decisions there. Would be my recommendation. Oh goodness, this is a tall order. I mean, the great question. I love getting questions on like specific ones like these, but these are the hard ones to answer, man. So you're saying I'm a beginner PPC manager. So first off, congratulations on getting into this space. It is a fun place to be, and it is on an upward ride. So you're in the right spot. But he's asking, what are the 5 to 6 major things I need to do to reach a top level in 1 month? Goodness, you're giving yourself a month to figure this out. I would say give yourself more than a month. Give yourself more than a month. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. I have been doing this for 5 years. There are still things that I can learn. I mean, like, I don't know, I'm at the top of the game, and I know I can get on a live and answer questions on the fly, but like, that's a tall order. It's going to take you a while. So it's simultaneously going to take you less time than you think and more time than you think. And now, as far as what I would recommend focusing on, one, I would recommend trying to understand the relationship or the influence you have as an ad manager over where the products appear. For example, right, I just talked about sponsored display ads and like how those are great to run. And I said, hey, wouldn't it be awesome to get underneath your competition's buy box? And by the way, you can stick a video with that. So I'm thinking through, oh, this is where the ads appear on the platform. This is how the shoppers are going to interact with them. And, when I was talking through like, oh, analyzing your click-through rate. Okay, so I'm thinking about my product on this search page and I'm analyzing like click-through rate tells me how like interested are shoppers in learning more about my product, right? So I'm trying to, when I analyze advertising, always look at it from what does this tell me or what am I trying to do to interact with the shoppers? So if you go through any learnings, meaning like setting up campaigns, targeting keywords, everything, you always want to get at it from the shopper's point of view. And if I had to add second thing to focus on, it would be the analytics. Again, understanding how to read reports, and then you want to understand how to read reports. You want to know what story is this report telling me, and then you want to be able to communicate that story to someone else and if I add something to that, I would say understand what to do based on the story you just heard, right? That can take a while. I'll be honest with you. That could take a little while. So part of it is not just getting good at the skill, but I've said this on other lives when I get questions on how do I become like an expert level or really sought after account manager. You have the skill of Amazon advertising, but the additional skill that you want to cultivate that is going to make you an even better account manager is going to be your communication skills. Meaning how well can you convey information to a listener and have them receive it and understand it and know what actions are helpful to take off of that. That is a lifelong skill, dude. I'm still learning that one. Been doing this for a while, so I'm not terrible at it, but communication is always something that we should strive to get better at. So I'm not sure if those were helpful. There's a little bit more vague answers, but it's a high level question. It's a hard question. All right, Ahmed said bulk operation videos in detail, please. Yes, those are my plans for our next videos. I know I'm putting out some shorts, but we do have 2 videos that we used to have on bulk operations. So we do have this bulk bid adjustments. We used to have, like, I think one of our older videos that had our most watches on our YouTube channel, that one was on bid adjustments, but that was with the old version. So we're doing updates to that with the 2.0 version. And then you can also see this video on launching campaigns with bulk files. There's also a way to get a free template. I literally had someone message me on LinkedIn and was like, hey, I just signed on an account and I had to launch a ton of campaigns. If I did not have your template, I would have died. I would not have been able to handle it. Thank you so much, which was the sweetest thing. I love getting those kind of messages. Absolutely makes my day. But yeah, if you're still launching campaigns manually, go watch this video. It save you a world of time. Trust me. So I'm at a few. Feel free to pop out in the comments. If you have any like specific questions around bulk files, I can definitely get you those. Oh, this is a good question. I have a question. How do you do an Amazon account audit and just PPC audit? What parameters keep during auditing, account audit or PPC audit? Kindly explain in brief. All right, I'm trying to do this brief. So I will say our audits have shifted a little bit. We recently redesigned our audits in 2023. We used to do what everybody else does, right? Which is go into the advertising, know what you understand our best practices. So how is your campaign naming structure? Do you have this ad type running? What is the performance of these ad types? Are you running sponsored brands? Are you running sponsored display? Here's a bunch of negative keywords that you haven't added. Those are pretty good lists. You can actually find, I don't have one, but you can find YouTube videos out there that's like, oh, here's how we audit an account. What we determined, because again, we used to do that for the first, 3 years? That was our audit structure. But what we found is that sort of audit is specifically looking at the advertising. You're not taking into account their business goals, and you're not taking into account how the ads can help support those business goals. And that is what brands really care about. They don't actually care about advertising. They don't even want to run advertising. If they could get away with making the same sales and not paying for advertising, they wouldn't, trust me. So what you want to do, this is how we do it now, right? We start off by getting their business goals. What are they wanting to achieve? What are they wanting to achieve and why? What does it mean to them? They want a total A cost of 10%. Why? Like, is that because you have certain profitability goals? Is that because things you will find out in these conversations is somebody told them a long time ago that you never want to get past 15%. Total A cost, and that's a problem, right? Some people say, oh, I want a 5% total A cost, and you're like, why do you want to? Oh, somebody somewhere told me they were doing that, and that sounded awesome, right? Get the why. And then what you want to do is you want to take those whys into the ad account. We have a 3-step process that we use for this. So what we do is we look at the trends on the account level, then we'll look at the trends on the product level, and then we'll go into the advertising because we know what trends are on the account level, good and bad. We know what trends are on the product level, good and bad. Then we go in and evaluate, okay, so trends on the account level, total A cost is rising, which means there's some inefficiencies in the ad spend. If we go into the product level, we're noting that these 2 products are the ones with the inefficiencies. So therefore, when we go into the ads, we're not looking at, oh, here's a bunch of negatives you didn't advertise. We're saying, oh, remember that product that was causing your inefficiencies? Here's where the structure is poor on that one product line. And here is what we recommend to fix this specific issue. Again, that's much more advanced. It can be really difficult to understand what that structure looks like in an audit, how you write that out, what they look. I mean, you can use that. I think I have some posts on LinkedIn on how to do that, or at least kind of a little bit of an overview. That is much more complicated, and the systems we use to determine that are like internal built systems and reports that we refined over like the last 3 years. It's taken us a while to figure out how to do that efficiently and effectively. So if that's not something, maybe try and wrap your brain, definitely try and wrap your brain around the whole business goal thing and how that relates to the ads. That will be wildly useful for anyone you're auditing the ads for. But when it comes to doing like that system, it's okay if you just stick with the ads and the ad structure because it's a lot to get into. White Charles, really good question. How many keywords in one ad group? Yeah, so I'm not sure if you got the first of this. I don't have a hard and fast rule, so I'm not going to say like no more than 10, no more than 20. I have a whole rant video. I was getting mad one day, so I basically threw up a rant video on like why I believe what I believe and also what is my methodology, because just saying like it depends is not very helpful. Your follow-up question is going to be depends on what, right? So the things that I think about is, again, levels of control and how important is it for me to control spend at the campaign level. Example of that, I always give the extremes. I have an exact match ranking keyword, right? Highly important for me to be able to get spend on this particular keyword. I need to control spend because maybe I'm going to be aggressive with it, etc. Impressions are hyper important to me. I'm probably going to have high bids, so that's going to get its own campaign, single keyword campaign all day. If I had like 3 keywords, they're all somewhat similar in search volume, that I really want to go after, I would be okay with grouping those, right? But I'm still only having a group of 3. I would not take my main keywords and put them in a group with like 20 keywords, right? Because the level of control, the less keywords you have in your campaigns, the higher your level of spend control on that one keyword. The more keywords you have in a campaign, the lower level of spend control you have on each individual word. The reason why I don't believe in like a hard or fast rules, and I'm not going to give you no more than 10, no more than 20, is because there are very common use cases in where I will have a list of 100 singular word broad match keywords that I am going to have a 25-cent bid on, and I'm never intentionally going to increase those bids past 25 or 30 cents, right? In that specific case, I don't want to create a billion different, because if I have 100 keywords and I'm saying no more than 5 in a campaign, that's a lot of campaigns to create. And so I'm not really a huge fan of that hard and fast rule because it ends up inadvertently making people create a lot of campaigns where you don't need to create a lot of campaigns. I do have a YouTube video that goes a little bit more in depth on this that I would highly recommend you checking out because I think that will be helpful, but hopefully that explanation, again, I know I'm not giving you a hard and fast rule. There is a very specific reason to that. Ahmed says, should we start with phrase or exact? If you're doing a keyword or a product launch, I would recommend starting with exact match. If you are struggling to get any impressions despite high bids with exact match, then I would launch it in phrase match. That'd be helpful. Keith said, thanks, Elizabeth. You are very, very welcome. Hopefully we got your questions in. Goodness, they are rolling in. We're about 30 minutes in, and we got another 30 to go. So here we go. All right. Salman has a great one. Hello, Elizabeth. Good day. Good day to you as well. What is your most common go-to conversion rate optimization task that you perform on listings, or conversion rate optimization opportunity you commonly find on listings? That is a really great question. However, in our agency, we do not do listing optimizations. So that is not something that we would tackle personally. So as far as like most common or go-to, I don't really have one. That being said, optimizing your main image is going to be the most, like the highest impact task that you can have. So I would highly recommend looking at the main image first. If the main image is optimized, then maybe you would look at, definitely images are going to be the biggest ones for you to optimize. Cool. All right, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee, get my voice back. Awesome. Before we move on to Gregor's question, which is a great one. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for hosting. You are more than welcome. Again, this is my favorite thing, and I love being able to answer your Amazon ad questions. Here's a great question. I do spending on sponsor brands and sponsor brands video campaigns as much as on sponsor product ads. That's because I found sponsor brands and sponsor brands video converting better and being cheaper. Is that a good strategy to go with, or is it good only for the short term? Thank you. So that is a great question. I would say it's going to depend on the overall account performance. So the one observation that I have, and this just comes through auditing a ton of different accounts, but the one thing I have seen is that if the majority of your spend is on sponsored brands and sponsor brands video, oftentimes these products will struggle to rank for whatever reason. And don't take this as me saying I don't recommend sponsor brands and sponsor brands video, because that is not the case. However, I do find that sponsor brands and sponsor brands in general tend to have as much impact on rankings for the product. So that would be like my preference. But what I would say is you're not asking me this question and saying, I'm struggling with ranking, I'm struggling with sales, and this is what my ad split is there something you would recommend to fix it? And this is me reading between the lines on your question, but it sounds like everything is pretty going fine. It doesn't sound like you're dealing with like a sales volume issue or market share issue. And so I would say if you're performing well and you're finding that your market share and your sales are at a place that you're comfortable with, you should be fine to continue. The only reason I would be hesitant to continue, or I would say maybe, is if you find yourself struggling to rank on keywords, losing market share, losing sales, then I would probably reevaluate. I would say be careful of pushing so heavy to sponsor brands and sponsor brands video that your account is only reliant on those ad types. The reason being is because if you do end up losing, seeing the loss of market share, seeing the loss in ranking, and seeing the loss in the sales volume, what you're going to want to do is start pushing harder on sponsored product ads. But if you've continuously weeded out and pruned down and pulled back on sponsored product ads, then you kind of have to go through like a retest and ranking phase to figure out like what works in sponsored product ads, or where you can run a little bit more aggressive exact match sort of ranking strategies in sponsored product ads. If you still have that structure in place in the sponsored product ads, then it's just a matter of putting higher bids and putting out higher budgets on an ad structure that you already have, versus again having to go through the whole retesting thing again. But I mean, it sounds like you're doing okay for now. Again, if it's working, keep at it. Just keep on track of it. That's what I would say. Interesting question. Suleiman said, how's your experience with hourly rule-based bidding? I'm assuming you're talking about the native rules inside of the ad console. With hourly rule-based, I have an account where the hourly data shows obvious optimization for time of day. How does it work for different time zones in the US? Good question. From my understanding, if you're in the US, all of the data is given to you at on PST, Pacific Standard Time. So you want to align whatever times you're focusing on at that. If there's very clear, defined hours that things are working, I would say test it. Always test, with maybe a more minimal ad set, maybe not necessarily testing across the whole account, and then track your results and adjust accordingly. Now, what is our experience with the rule-based bidding? I actually had a call with an Amazon ads account executive this week, and part of my feedback to her was like, hey, you guys are rolling out all of these awesome automation features inside of the ad console. This is fabulous. Love it. However, we're not using it because to set them up, to manage them is tedious, man. You got to set them up for every single individual campaign. And my personal opinion, when you got a really big campaign or account with thousands of campaigns, which is what we often run, it's really easy to forget which campaigns have a rule set up on them. Bid rules, budget rules. And so we have good enough results with the software that we're using, and we have the ability to do what you're referring to as like day parting. We have the ability to do day parting with our software. So we're not using Amazon's internal. I hesitate to say at all because there might be one or two places, but as an agency, we're not like heavily focused on pushing that out. Again, just due to how kind of obnoxious they are to set up and manage. Christy has a great question. Super helpful. Thank you. You are most welcome. I appreciate it. Susan, I would love to also know your thoughts on auto versus manual bidding. Do you have any use cases or both to prefer with work with one or the other? Let's see. I run both. The caveat I would say is that I would recommend optimizing your auto campaigns to be more profit conscious. I don't necessarily recommend being really aggressive. And when I say be really aggressive, high bids, high budgets on caveat to that. If you have low bids and things are converting well, sometimes the budget gets scaled, but I'm not going to like aggressively, mainly bids, I guess, or placements or any of the other of those things. We prefer to run the auto campaign strictly for profitability. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, great question. Another one question, keep them rolling. We got about 20 minutes left. So let's get at it. One of my advertisers, the vendor, wants to move some of the sponsored product budget to sponsor brands video, and sponsor display. The sponsored product campaigns account for 80% of sales and 33% of sales. I need your suggestions on this. Yeah, that's a good question. So I mean, the best question or case to ask would be, of course, like, hey, is it okay if we get additional budget here instead of pulling from sponsored product ads? Now, the difference on that is going to be, one, just what is the brand comfortable with? Sometimes brands have very set budgets and you have to work within them. And then the second thing that you'll have to figure out is like what is the performance on sponsored product ads? Like, are they pushing for it because they're looking for sales volume and market share increases, or are they just saying like, hey, we see potential here? Or are they pushing because they're saying, hey, sponsored products doesn't work really well from us, let's try sponsor brands video and display, and do it that way. So you do want to kind of read the room in the context. Whenever you can further talk with a brand and understand the why and what it is that I'm trying to achieve, right? Example of this, and apologies for kind of going on a rabbit trail here, but this is going to help you tremendously as an account manager, is understanding the, like, again, what is the client, what is the brand, what is the vendor wanting to get out of this objective, goal, strategy, etc. So again, in the case of, we need to achieve a 10% total ACoS number. Okay, that's the goal. Why? Most of the times it's for profitability. Oh, I need better profitability because I'm worried that I'm not having good enough cash flow to make reorders, right? That would be a very specific why. Sometimes you can get to the specific why, sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're saying, oh, I think if I could get a 10% total ACoS, then I could finally get, XYZ net profit that I'm looking to achieve. Well, in that context, sometimes if you get to the why, you understand that, oh, it's not actually the 10% total ACoS you want. You're looking for XYZ profit dollars every month. Do you think maybe I could figure out some strategies to get you XYZ profit dollars instead of this 10% total ACoS that you're looking at me? Because I feel like if we try and get this number, it's actually going to hurt this one. because I know what you actually want. So I would get a goal of what it is that they actually want. Because if you are more skilled at ad management, then you should have a much better gauge or understanding. Sometimes we have greater context or, just experience to be able to suggest better, more efficient strategies. So I would look at it there. As far as what would my recommendations or suggestions on this, I would say if you can get the additional budget, I would recommend starting slow with them. Say, okay, let's treat this as a test. Full disclosure, the sponsor, like all of these ad types may or may not perform at the level in which you're wanting them to. So we're treating all of this like a test. It's brand new. What is your comfort levels on budget allocations for these tests? That's how I would frame that question. And then as far as what to do, I would set them up. I would focus on the best sellers for these products, and I would focus on the keywords and the ASIN targets, etc., that you've already determined work in your sponsored product ads. So you're honing in on specific products. It depends on the size of the catalog. If there's like 2 products and you're like, testing on everything. If there's 100 products, you're like, let's slow down and test this like incrementally, right? So you want to look at the ones, where does it make the most sense to test, and what's a reasonable ad budget for these tests? And then I would go about it that way. Not sure if that fully answers your question. I kind of went down on a rabbit hole on getting through goals, but hopefully it did. And if you have any follow-up questions, if anyone here, if I said something that made you have a follow-up question or you're not quite sure on something still, feel free to ask follow-up questions in the chat. I'm more than happy to clarify things. Targeting phrase match at start, negative targeting after enough inbounds. There's a strategy. That strategy can work. So Ahmed is asking about if you're targeting phrase match at the start and you're using negative targeting after you get like enough info that specific search terms don't work. That can absolutely work. The things that you need to be aware of with that strategy is, one, the potential for spend can be a little bit higher because you're targeting a bunch of like related searches to those specific phrase matches. And the other thing that you want to be aware of is you're not going to be able to direct spend as strategically to very specific search pages. But if you're okay with those and you're getting results from this strategy, it's not a bad strategy at all. I mean, honestly, I would recommend layering in exact match as well. If you can afford to run it both in exact and phrase, I would. But really, if you're seeing results, I'm not opposed to this strategy. No. Chrissy said I have to drop off in 10 minutes. Will be available to rewatch? Yes. This is going to be on our YouTube channel. So let me pull it up. If you go here and you look at the lives, this one, we're live right now on the here. And so feel free to, if you want to watch any of the other lives, you can do that as well. But yes, definitely will be available for the rewatch. And I appreciate you joining. Welcome. Great questions, Christy. Danielle said, what is your initial bid on a new keyword? Suggested bids at minimum range or starting extremely low and inching up to feel when you got the first impressions? Yes. Great question. I know I keep plugging videos. I'm sorry, but I don't want to spend like 30 minutes answering your question. I definitely could. But there's this one. It's a starting bid. Avoid custom mistakes. Mastering starting bids for your Amazon PPC. Highly recommend you check that one out, Daniel. I will give you the short answer to that one as well. It depends on how quickly you want to be able to get data. How aggressive do you want to be with your strategy? If left to my own devices and I have no time constraints, I would prefer to start low and then work my way up. That would be my preferred method. The reason being is you tend to have a little bit less ad waste there. Now, starting extremely low and then working your way up from there could potentially result in like issues with getting initial impression on things, right? That could be a problem. So just recognize with starting low, and even more so if you're starting extremely low and then working your way up, it's going to take you more time to get feedback on your ads, meaning like impressions, clicks. Really, the main point of feedback is clicks. And then the question, are those clicks converting to sales? You want to be able to understand that. If you're running your own ads, then you can make that executive decision and be like, yeah, I prefer less ad waste, even if it takes me like a week to kind of figure out or to even really get many clicks, because I'm trying to like figure out how this is going to go. We do work with a range of clients, and some of our clients prefer to be less aggressive. We have some clients that are like, look, our goal in the first month is just how low can we get the BSR? Push it. And those clients, if I started low, they would not be happy with me, right? Which doesn't make it a bad strategy. It just makes it a strategy that does not align with what they are comfortable with or what they're trying to achieve. They want that data feedback ASAP. And so for us, we got to start those puppies really high, typically highest end of the suggested bid. So I would just think about it like that. Like, what are you comfortable with in terms of ad spend? What are you comfortable with in terms of data feedback timelines? And then oftentimes I do like the suggested bid as a start. Context there. And I never tell anyone, oh yeah, just, apply. The problem with just saying, oh, apply the suggested bid. Yeah, that sounds good. Is in some accounts, the suggested bid's going to be like 50 cents. And I'm like, yeah, go apply it. 50-cent bid sounds great. Other accounts, your suggested bids are going to be like $3. I've seen suggested bids upwards of $10. It's redonkulous. In that case, no, suggested bids are not a good idea. And you probably want to lower them to the minimum end of the range. So I would say, yeah, probably start on the lower end. Suggested bid if it seems reasonable to you, but check sort of how well the suggested bids, again, fit within your comfort levels in terms of ad spend. And then typically speaking, I would say like, oh, I'm not really, you don't want to make daily changes to your ads. You do want to check your average, like if you have newly launched things, especially on a product launch, you want to be checking those campaigns within the first 24 hours just to see if you're looking for impressions. If there are no impressions within the first 24 hours, you might want to increase your bids. If you are looking to be a little bit more conservative, maybe you can wait 48 hours and then increase your bids. But I would work off of that. So hopefully, Daniel, that was comfortable. Oh goodness, this is a tall order. Best method to do keyword research for large accounts, 200 plus SKUs. These are fun ones, man. Oh Lord. Okay. I would say, if at all possible, do keyword research within the account. Now, I'm not sure if this is an account that has some sort of ads running and you're looking to like beef up the ad structure or launch additional keywords, or if this is, I gotta fully launch 200 SKUs. If you gotta launch 200 SKUs, you're gonna have to grunt work through it. I mean, if you can, call in anyone else on your team. I mean, we've done that in the past when there's like pedal to the metal, it's go time, and we're looking to push stuff out. I mean, we do have the advantage of having an agency with multiple team members who can help step in on the keyword research, because that's honestly one of the most time-consuming ones. If you already have ads running for these products, if you already have data within the account, use your search term reports as a keyword research method. Start there, work your way out. If you do not really have a good, clean ad structure where you can attribute search terms to individual products and you're having issues there, then and the products are already selling on the ad account, because you got to speed run this, I would say use reverse ASIN search on the individual products to do your keyword research. Where are they already ranking okay, have decent search volume, and you want to leverage ads to be able to push those specific search pages and ideally gain market share there. I would start there. If you have, again, if you're in the weeds and you are fully launching 200 SKUs from scratch, no data, no nothing, Again, I mean, like maybe a better method would to see, can you bucket? Because like that's the struggle with large SKU accounts, is you don't want to do disservice or have poor strategies. You want to do a good job on everything, but again, where's the focus? So I would say, like, if you can bucket these, meaning like, oh, these are a bunch of shirts, and then I have a bunch of pants, and then I have a bunch of cups. Like, can you bucket the keyword research and still do a good job, but you know that those keywords are going to apply to multiple products? That could be another good way to do that. Yeah, I think that was the other thing. Again, and then the other thing to know is that if you have data, look at which products have the highest impact on the account. Because what you're going to end up with is, if we do this all the time in very large product categories, is I would look at it on a per parent ASIN level. I would go into download a business report, and I would take that, you take product sales for that parent ASIN, divide total of all of the product sales. And basically what you're trying to figure out is what percentage of the total sales does this product make up? The higher percentage of the total sales that product is making up, the more focus that product should have. Hopefully that makes sense. So if there is sales data, if there is information you have, the more you can sort of hone in on the things that are already working, the things that are going to get, that 80-20 rule, the biggest bang for your buck, and be able to do really strategic and integral keyword research for like the top 5 products, 3 products, whatever is going to make sense. And then you can do that, either search term analysis, reverse ASIN searching, or, strategic bucketed keyword research for those, the rest of the catalog. And then depending on what pops off when you run that advertising, then you sort of move products up in terms of priority. So that's more power to you. The fun joys of being an account manager on large SKU catalogs. I really hope you'll have to check back in. Let me know how it goes. Hopefully those my answers were at all helpful. Not really sure. It's definitely a tall order, that much. Cool. I'm trying to see. It looks like, all right, we got one more question rolling in. Looks like we got about 5 minutes. All right. If more than one auto campaigns are running with same match types for a product, i.e. loose match campaigns and making sales, should we keep running or pause the other 3? I would go off performance. If the other ones are performing, totally good. Leave it alone. If they're not performing, I would prefer to adjust the bids. If I cannot get them to perform at all and they keep wasting money, then you might look at pausing them. Cool. Good question from Master PPC. Budget optimization versus bid optimization. All right, let's get into it. So there's a lot of people in the space who will tell you that letting your campaign budgets run out is dumb and terrible, and you're losing out on sales, and you're going to screw yourself up. That is not the case. I got that question enough that I actually created our rant video for it, actually with a tool that can help you also forecast the impact of product launches, which is kind of nice. It's called like lowering total ACoS, free forecasting tool, maximize your profits with smart Amazon ad budgeting. Highly recommend you go and check that out. It kind of explains some of the nuances of this. I would say by far, I recommend bid optimizations. By far. In lieu of budget optimizations. However, anyone who says only optimize bids and never optimize budgets is actually missing out on a really big lever to help control total ACoS. And actually I got another one for you. I talked to Mike Freaky from Perch. He's doing some really awesome things at Perch, and he's head of their marketing as well as other like forecast channels. So how to use budgets to increase profits with Mike Freaky. Recommend going and checking that on that. One of the things that we covered in that is if you only use your bids as your like spend adjustment lever, what happens is that if you have a main keyword that you want to be aggressive on, but because the cost per clicks are too high, the spend is too high, and you end up pushing the campaign into unprofitability metrics, and it ends up affecting total A costs and all that terrible stuff. And you need to lower the spend on it. If you only ever lower the bid, oftentimes what you do is you completely price yourself out of getting any impressions for that keyword. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? You're like, I gotta leverage, like I gotta put high bids, because if I don't put high bids, I get no impressions. But if I put high bids and I'm losing money, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I have no idea. Budgets are your answer. So what you do in this scenario, and it's a very specific use case for it, you can put really high bids on that particular keyword, and then you can use budget as, okay, I know I have to spend a lot cost per click, but I don't want to ever spend more than $50 a day on this one keyword. And so you can use budgets in that case as like your ultimate spend lever control, which we found to be very effective, and Mike also has as well. So it's like, it's not either or, it's and, although I probably would lean more to bids unless strictly focusing on bids is going to hurt you in terms of your potential traffic. That's probably how I would think about it. That's a great question though, and one that's being hotly debated right now, if we're being honest. Cool. Matthew has a question. Have you done any testing recently with gold pan autos, wide net, low bid, auto match types? If so, what are your results? Phenomenal. Freaking nominal. So what Matthew is referring to, a lot of people say gold panning strategies. Essentially what this is it's casting a wide net with a broad match type, in this case an auto campaign, right? Because it targets a crap ton of different search terms. And then you put a low bid on it, so it's low cost traffic, and you let it run. Oftentimes what people do in these campaigns as well is they will actually dump their entire product catalog into these autos. These are often called like low bid autos, catch-all campaigns, these kind of things. What we find is that these campaigns work really well. So oftentimes your ACoS is going to be sometimes even 5 to 10 points below the average in your account. The other strategy that we will use that is very similar to this, Matthew, I'm not sure if you're testing this. You can also take broad match, use individual, like single word keywords, meaning like cup, baby, blue, all of the keywords that you would never, ever, ever get aggressive on or go super crazy after them, right? Put those in a broad match, dump them all in a campaign, put low bids on these, low bids being maybe 15, 20 cents. Let that run. That works really well as well. And as far as performance, now you're going to run these. You're going to get that performance. You're going to get that 5% ACoS. You're going to get that 10% ACoS. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, I should increase the bids because I want more of that 5% ACoS, 10% ACoS. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. You will find scenarios that it doesn't. Do make sure you check these to potentially add negative keywords. Do lower the bids if things don't work. I will say that. But also, if you see phenomenal performance, do not increase your bids. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because what that will do is it's going to completely change the strategy of your campaign. Oftentimes what happens, you increase the bids and you get more traffic and you get more sales. But that sales and traffic came at a 50% or 50 cent cost per click. And that worked okay. Maybe it cost went up a little bit. And then you go, oh my gosh, this is great. You increase the bids. And then now you're getting it at a 60% cost per click, and then 75 cents per cost per click, and maybe even $1 at some point. And then all of a sudden, those dollar cost per clicks aren't working, and it's not a low bid campaign anymore, and you end up with a whole bunch of ad spend waste. So, yes, they work. Absolutely run them. Test broad match as well. Make sure you don't increase your bids too high, is what I would say. Matthew says, awesome, thank you. Of course, it has been my pleasure. So all of you all who stuck with me till the end, you guys are phenomenal. I appreciate everyone joining in here. I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. So for those of you who didn't see, if you go to our website, Junglr, junglr.com, you can go up to this resource section, Q&As. You will find this page right here. And it is going to list all of our upcoming lives. We put links to everything in here. And if you would like to submit an Amazon ad question. If you're catching this on a replay and you want to submit your question, but you're not going to be able to join live, feel free to use this form, and we'll make sure to prioritize. If you want to watch any past lives or some of our segments of answers, you can actually check these playlists on our YouTube channel as well. So this has been awesome. I appreciate you all. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you all for the awesome questions. And I'm going to see you guys all next